The mask is coming off. It's been coming off, and I've reported on it several times, like exposing AOC, and so have other political channels. Throughout 2020 was the biggest time in which we saw AOC for the fraud that she really is. So in a previous video, I explained Jimmy Dore's plan of exposing these Democrats that are quote unquote progressive, that ran on being for Medicare for all, that they have to not vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House unless she agrees to put Medicare for all up for a vote in the House. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Not only are people dying from lack of health insurance, but people are losing their jobs. The CARES Act was the biggest upward transfer of wealth in probably human history. And these quote unquote progressive Democrats voted for the CARES Act, and they're revealing how much they truly care mostly for their career, and they don't care about the people nearly as much. I mean, in that video, I like went after Mark Pokin for bringing up a bullshit excuse of why Democrats shouldn't, like these quote unquote progressive Democrats shouldn't do what Jimmy Dore proposed as a plan, even though Jimmy's biggest detractors, other political commentators like Sam Cedar, agreed with Jimmy Dore. So this is Justin Jackson. He is an NFL football player for the Chargers. He's very politically active on Twitter. He wrote in a tweet, if AOC and the squad don't do what Jimmy Dore has suggested and withhold their vote for Pelosi for speakership unless Medicare for all gets brought to the floor for a vote, they will be revealing themselves. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Again, remember, what is the point in having Nancy Pelosi and majority Democrats in the House if they're not going to get Medicare for all passed, or at least are not even up for a vote, just like we wouldn't get it done under a Republican Speaker of the House? And then AOC had this to say: people with this idea is that there isn't enough thought given to step two. The Dem votes aren't there yet. And with a razor thin margin, the Dem no's are greater than the margin. So you issue threats, hold your vote, and lose. Then what? If you want to know who's opposed, look at co-sponsor list. She went on to say, in contrast, you can use leverage to push for things that can happen and change lives, i.e. a $15 minimum wage. Vote in the first 100 days, doable. Elevating longtime progressive champions to important positions of leadership, parentheses, also doable. That's the opportunity cost to weigh. Then Aaron Mate replied. Aaron Mate, journalist of The Gray Zone, he did fantastic work on exposing Russiagate for the conspiracy theory that it is. He said, how does losing a vote on Medicare for all take away your leverage to push for things that can happen? You can still push for those things. And who are the longtime progressive champions who stand a chance to be elevated to these important positions of leadership? By the way, I don't understand how you're drawing a connection between progressive leverage and winning a $15 minimum wage. Biden already supports a $15 minimum wage. It won't take progressive leadership to hold him/Pelosi to something Biden already supports. It's the Senate that will decide it. Steph Zamorano said, withhold support of Speaker Pelosi unless she brings Medicare for all to the floor for a vote. It's called leverage. So Justin Jackson replied to AOC's tweet, and he said, why aren't they there? People of the party are there. It's not acceptable leadership isn't there. If they have no threat of not staying in leadership, what's the point? Pelosi was speaker for 2 years with no Medicare for all vote. What is your plan to force her to get a vote? AOC said, why aren't they there? Is the real question. We watched the presidential debates and saw how many fiercely defend our for-profit insurance system. But know that the movement pressure, positive support, primaries, popularity, organizing, etc. is working. More co-sponsors now than ever. Justin Jackson replied and said, would love for Democrats to be on the record denying their constituents healthcare during a pandemic. Sounds like good politics for the progressive movement and our goals. AOC said, I respect that, and in an important way, they are on the record. There are 118 House Democrats who have publicly signed on to guaranteed healthcare during this term. They are listed here. Justin Jackson replied and said, that sounds like 118 House Democrats who can use their leverage to get a Medicare for All floor vote. It's unacceptable that a 118 coalition of Democrats who support Medicare for All cannot even get a vote, something to consider. What I find truly interesting about this is that AOC knows about Jimmy Dore's plan. And she's not like responding to anything Jimmy Dore says at all. She doesn't want to go on his show. She's trying to save face. She's running away from it. She's not responding to anything Jimmy Dore says. Instead, she's responding to other blue check marks like Justin Jackson, who's not a political commentator with his own show. So here's what Jimmy Dore had to say about AOC's responses to Justin Jackson. She's gaslighting us. This is politics 101. Demand something for your vote. The Blue Dogs did this last time and Pelosi caved. Only reason AOC won't do this is because she's a careerist who won't ever cross party leaders. I can't believe she would try and excuse this lame hashtag Medicare for All vote. He went on to say Blue Dogs did exactly this in 2018 and Pelosi caved. You won't even try. You are revealing who you are. He went on to say, this is ridiculous. If you leverage your vote for Pelosi for speaker, then she meets your demands and brings Medicare for All for a vote. Then you vote for her and you get all those things. You lose nothing. Shocked you had 2 weeks. And this is the lame excuse you came up with. Everyone sees this. And everyone includes people like Sam Cedar, who's Jimmy Dore's biggest detractor, who ended up agreeing with Jimmy Dore on this plan. 100% gaslighting. Kamala Harris co-sponsored Bernie's Medicare for All bill too. Voting is real. The people want a vote. You won't do anything to make this happen. You are revealing that you never ever intended to use your leverage to fight for Medicare for All or cross Mama Bear. Hashtag Medicare for All vote. She's pretending that progressive leverage will achieve $15 minimum wage when Biden and Pelosi already support it. Aaron Mate. This is really turning into a bit of a self-unmasking for AOC. Not to mention that $15 minimum wage right now is it's scraps right now. It's scraps. Like, we are owed money for the past 10 months that we weren't given a stimulus. People have been losing their jobs. People have been losing their health insurance. And this is the pathetic shit that AOC does. Supporting Pelosi over the people who are suffering. Creating t-shirts and sweatshirts that have logos on it while not doing anything in the house with the power that she has and the popularity that she has. This is why Fiorella Isabel of the Convo Couch calls AOC the Barack Obama of our generation. Because Barack Obama ran on Medicare for All too, on universal health care. And he didn't fight for it. He had the majority of the House. He had the majority of the Senate. And instead they passed a right-wing healthcare plan which left 20 million Americans uninsured. Because Barack Obama did the bidding of his donors in the health insurance industry. And AOC does the bidding of Mama Bear Pelosi, who does the bidding of the health insurance industry. And what's crazy to me is that there's still people out there who still don't get it. People like this guy. He said, what the fuck do y'all want from AOC? Goddamn, man. And AOC is getting like trashed on Twitter, and she very well deserves it for the reasons that I just explained. And I say it's been pretty explicit what people want from AOC. Actually fight for Medicare for All and against Mama Bear. But this going over this guy's head isn't surprising considering his Twitter name is Bernie is my real dad. Now, I don't want to rail on whatever like dad problems this guy must have had, but the reason why I said that isn't the reason why I said that is because there's still people out there who are still idolizing these politicians that are not fighting for them. They're not. Right now, none of these politicians are. At least not to the extent that they're supposed to be fighting for us. And it's time for people to realize that nothing is going to get done to improve their lives until they step up and they do something about it. It's time to let AOC go if you have not let her go yet. It's time to let Bernie Sanders go because he's also not fighting for this. It's time to let all politicians go because it's time to stop thinking that somebody is going to come out of nowhere and save you. No one is going to save you but yourself. You are the one that's going to apply pressure to these politicians. Tell them that you're not going to vote for them anymore because they're not fighting for you. Organize, educate, build communities. That is how we're going to fight the establishment. That's how we're going to get the policies that we need that's going to work for working class families and people. And if you want to understand how we can build communities, how we can educate people, subscribe to my channel, Frank Analysis, in which I have several guests on and we discuss how we can do that, how we can build communities, like what are the problems of the world that are happening, what are the best solutions. So stay informed, people. Like, share, and subscribe.